I want to welcome everyone back to the 2021 school year. This obviously is the most unusual of welcomes, as we are still in the midst of a pandemic, even as we prepare to begin the education of our children, which cannot take a back seat even as we practice respect for a disease we still do not have a hold of. Our hopes this year were to once again hold our convocation at the Mesquite Rodeo, to see our flags fly representing our various feeder pattern communities, rejoice in the great accomplishments of the 2019-2020 school year, and celebrate our students and staff. Sadly, that practice has been put on hold, but we can still celebrate at each of our campuses. We can still find joy in the great work of our people, and we can still look forward to overcoming this daunting obstacle of educating in the midst of a pandemic and stand up a great education for our children. Before I begin my remarks, I want to first acknowledge the great work of our teachers, our administrators, our food service people, janitors, bus drivers, and so many others who did so much to see us through the early days of providing an education and for the well-being of our children while our buildings were closed. Your efforts were nothing short of remarkable, and I know I speak for our whole community when I say thank you. I also want to acknowledge the opening of our newest campus, Don Woolley Middle School. I've opened a building before, and I know the challenges that go with that. But to open it in the midst of this challenge takes an incredible effort on the part of the staff of Don Woolley, and I want to say thank you to them for all they have done to prepare. This is obviously a very difficult time for all of us, for our families, our communities, and for us as a staff. To navigate this very difficult obstacle course of COVID is going to require the best of all of us. It is going to require that we support each other, that we care for each other, and that we stay focused on our mission of caring for and educating our children, and that we give our maximum effort to mitigate for this awful disease. As I was preparing my remarks, all my mind could center on were two things: providing the highest quality education possible to our children and supporting my staff. Crossing every thought was our mission to prepare our children to be self-determined adults in control of the quality of their freedom and the safety of staff and students. First and foremost, I believe that we have the innovative capacity in Mesquite ISD to overcome the challenges of this time and maximize the learning of our children. I believe in our teachers and our administrators because I know that they all care deeply about our mission of creating self-determined adults. And we all know that centers on the quality of their education and learning. As we prepared to do this, we had many options at our disposal, and I recognize that many of you may be aware of those options, including the minimum hours required in a virtual setting. But we have not taken that option, and I do not apologize for choosing the maximum option possible. We have never in this district's history been about meeting minimum expectations, and our children deserve and need more than that from us. We all know that our children need us to maximize their learning in order to become competitive, and no, this is not about STAR or EOC exams and district ratings. This is about our mission. This pandemic has not changed that reality. In fact, one could argue that the impact of this pandemic has been most felt by children of poverty, and that should only motivate us more to stand up the maximum educational opportunities possible. If we believe in equity, and I know collectively we all do, it will not enter our minds to do anything less than the maximum amount possible. I do know that doing so will be a great challenge for us, and I do know that while the district, especially Dr. Rivera, Dr. Franklin, and Kara Jackson and their teams have done much to put systems in place to allow for maximum educational experiences while in a virtual setting, we are still going to rely on the expertise and innovative spirit of our campus leaders and teachers to make it work. But as I stated earlier, I believe we had the capacity of our buildings to do just that. You guys are experts. You are amazing innovators. And as the African proverb goes, Smooth seas do not make skillful sailors. These are definitely rough waters, but I believe that with a vision squarely focused on our mission and the quality people we have doing the navigating through these waters, that we will not only successfully meet our mission goals, but that we will continue and come out better than we entered. I believe that two of the greatest barriers to overcoming obstacles are fear and pessimism. Winston Churchill, the great British leader during World War II, stated it best when he said, "A pessimist sees the difficulty in every opportunity. An optimist sees the opportunity in every difficulty." This is clearly a time of great difficulty, and while the inclination is to focus on all the difficulties, we need to focus on the opportunities. Opportunities to reach children differently, opportunities to engage parents more deeply, and opportunities to expand our practice. I know that if we lean into the opportunities rather than constantly focusing on the difficulties, that we can do some amazing things, even as presented by this challenge. I imagine each of you listening can relate to this through personal experiences, and I would encourage you to remember the times when you leaned into opportunities when facing challenges rather than simply seeing difficulties and succumbing to them. As I have stated many times to our principals and others, we need to think creatively inside the box, for the box is real. But the focus should never be on the boundaries of the box, but rather the opportunities that reside within it. If we simply focus there, we will accomplish great things. So place your focus there as you prepare to engage parents, as you prepare to educate children. Do not be confined by difficulties, but instead be freed by opportunities. While pessimism is a problem, fear is perhaps our greatest obstacle to overcoming challenges, and sadly, fear often holds us back, even in the face of evidence that it should not do so. One should always respect the things they fear, but one should never back away from that thing, but rather should prepare to face it and should be ready to overcome it. I asked my wife Joy for permission to share her story around fear because I thought it was the most amazing example of overcoming a lifetime of fear to accomplish something she really wanted to do. I learned early that my wife Joy had a significant fear of heights. I learned this while in college when we went on a mission trip to Costa Rica. As we were crossing a bridge, I was holding her hand, and the bridge was only about 10 feet off the water. But she was squeezing my hand so tightly, and I was kind of shook by that. And that's when I learned she had a fear of heights. It really became evident years later when we were crossing the Great Span Bridge in Colorado, and she squeezed my arm so tightly I thought I wasn't going to have feeling in it for 2 weeks. She definitely was afraid of heights. And then years later, we were going to Jamaica, and there was an opportunity for us to zip line through the jungles. Some of you may know this experience. And my wife Joy just really wanted to do that, but she simply had to overcome her fear in advance before going in order to do so. She spent a month in a gym using ropes courses and working to overcome her fear. I was so proud of her. And when we went to Jamaica, she got on those zip lines, strapped in properly, and rode those throughout the jungle. She was so excited, and I was so proud. This was someone who faced her fear, went through the processes of overcoming it, and did so. Years later, we were in the Dominican Republic, and we were cliff jumping, not diving, into water. And I'd just done a jump, and I was in the water, and she stepped out on the cliff, and her fear started to overcome her again. And I was encouraging her from below, but she still was scared, and she stepped back. Even knowing she could jump, she stepped back. Now, she had an opportunity to walk down a path, but instead she stepped back forward and jumped off that cliff. And when she came out of the water, there was a look on her face, and that look was one of both determination and anger at herself. And she declared loudly, "Fear sucks." And it really does. But you know, Joy had a respect for the task she was about to take on. She prepared herself for it, and as a result, she was able to do something that she found great joy in accomplishing. As we face our own fears, we need to follow the protocols we have in place. We need to respect what we are facing, well, we should not begin defeated by it. For to be challenged in life is inevitable, but being defeated even before we begin is optional. We should make certain we are prepared to meet the challenges, and I believe we have the safety protocols and the learning systems in place to be prepared to meet those challenges. We certainly need to respect what we are facing, but we should not fear it. As we enter the 2020-2021 school year, I cannot wait to hear the great stories of accomplishment. I cannot wait to hear what new ideas will spring us forward beyond this time. And I cannot wait to hear the personal stories of overcoming obstacles. I know without a doubt that I will hear of each of these things. And I want to encourage each of you to have a strong spirit and a focused mind during these challenging times. We are all so used to planning over long stretches of time. These circumstances will not allow for that. We will have to be flexible in mind and spirit, and we'll have to believe in our ability to thrive, not just survive, even as we have to pivot on our plans. Most importantly, we will have to support each other through these times. Let's remember that we all, are part of a family. And like all families, we don't always agree on the best course of action. But like all families should, we will always love and support each other as we work to do great things. I so appreciate all of you, and I pray for your safety and for the quick opening of our schools. Now let's go forward and do great things. Let's go forward and overcome every obstacle. And as we do so, let our lives be a blessing to many. Thank you, and have a great start to the 2020-2021 school year.